Hi, this is Carl from Linguagenesis, and this is part 2 of the discussion on the Rosetta Stone language learning software. Now, as mentioned in part 1, this is a highly regarded piece of software for modern foreign language learning, particularly in the United States, where it's highly regarded by the US Army Corps and other US administrations, and one of the most popularly used language learning products in mainstream education in the United States. Now, I mentioned if you don't have the Rosetta Stone language learning software, I would recommend that you go out and buy it, because it is something which I would highly recommend as a professional linguist, since it has helped me to actually start learning a number of different modern foreign languages at beginner's level. If you do have the course already, then absolutely wonderful, because you can install and run the software and you can see on the computer screen the identical pieces of information and the menus which I have here in front of me on my laptop. In actual fact, no matter which language it is that you buy on Rosetta Stone, you can usually study up to level 3, I think in some instances level 4, but the actual CD software which I have here enables me to choose from a total of 26 languages, but I can only study up to a maximum of level 2. But with some of the languages, particularly the less commonly spoken ones in the world, I can only study the initial level. Now, the one which I've chosen to do here is Swedish, and I will be explaining my experiences with learning Swedish, in which I currently only know the numbers 1 to 10, having learnt them as part of a task and having then recorded a YouTube video in which I gave numbers 1 to 10 in a total of 22 world languages. I'm going to pump to Swedish, and I can only study to level 1, so I double click level 1, and then I'm given to the right of the menu with the languages, the individual course units from 1 to 8. For the first 4 units in the Swedish, I can study a total of 11 lessons per unit, that's 44 in the first half, and then in the latter half, in units 5 to 8 inclusive, a total of 12 lessons each, so 48 lessons in the second half, with 44 in the first half, a total of 92 lessons, and on each of those lessons, as I mentioned in part 1, I can score a maximum of 100 points, depending on how many questions I get right. And I think also, depending on how quickly you're able to identify a correct answer, that will determine how many points you are awarded per question, although I'm not entirely sure whether that assertion rings true. Now, if I do click level 1, and I move into lesson 1 of unit 1 and click that, what I'm given is the chance to actually apply certain skills where modern foreign languages are concerned. Now, we have here on an activities screen an opportunity to look at 4 different activity types, or 4 different techniques, 4 different language learning methodologies. We have listening and reading in the first instance, and then we have just listening, then we have reading, it seems, and then speaking, and then writing. But I think in order for effective modern foreign language learning to take place, the more we can actually integrate different learning styles from listening, reading, writing and speaking, the more of these that we integrate simultaneously, the more beneficial that the actual learning process is likely to be. Now, in part 2 here, I'm just going to discuss very briefly what these different exercise types are all about. Clicking on exercise 1, I'm given the sound of a phrase, I can visualize the written word, and then I'm actually forced to look at the 4 pictures in the multiple choice options and identify which of those pictures actually applies to the phrase which I can see and also listen to. And this is EN space FLICKA, pronounced Anflika. Now, I've actually recorded this second part a number of times, so I now know from the 4 pictures, the girl, the boy, the dog and the cat, that Anflika is actually a girl. So I click the girl, and that's the sound for the correct answer, accompanied by an orange tick. Now, if I move out, bail out option, the man holding onto the parachute, and I look at exercise 2, this actually, again, like exercise 1, incorporates a pictorial association. It incorporates a written phrase, or a number of written phrases, and it also enables us to listen to the pronunciation of the multiple choice options. But the only difference is it's looking at one picture and identifying which of the 4 written words applies to that picture. But again, we can listen to the pronunciations and get used to the rules which govern the pronunciation of the Swedish language in terms of how we sound the consonants, the vowels, and the combinations of these. So I'm going to listen to the pronunciations of each of the 4 options, and I know from previous recordings we have a boy, a girl, a dog, and a cat. En flicka. En pojke. En hund. En cat. So I see the girl in front of me, and the correct answer is top left-hand option, en flicka. Okay, and now if we actually look at exercise 3, if I can click the bailout option again. This is exercise 3. This time, no pictorial associations whatsoever. I'm given the 4 multiple choice options in written form, but in the top left-hand corner there is no written phrase. I just have to listen to the sound, which is en hund, and then I have to work out which of the 4 options is actually the correct spelling, the graphological representation, as it were, of en hund, and it's the bottom left, as I can see. So I click that. Now we're just going to look at exercise 4, type 4, which is the reverse of type 3. Again, no pictorial associations, but there is a reverse in terms of the 4 multiple choice options not featuring any written phrases. Instead, I'm given the written phrase in the top left-hand corner, which is en space pojke, which, as I've picked up, is en pojke. So I have to listen to the pronunciations behind each of the 4 navy blue rectangles and work out which one is en pojke. No. So it's the top right-hand option, so I click that one instead. We notice that I'm picking up subconsciously the pronunciation and also the intonation, but as I mentioned, the integration of the reading and the listening skills, and also the writing skills, perhaps in a way, because I think as you read, and sometimes when you speak, you're actually writing the correct spellings in your own head. So we're actually in exercise 1, particularly where exercise 1 is concerned, we're integrating all the 4 areas of reading, writing, speaking, and listening. To be continued in part 3.